Are we live? Testing, testing. Are we live? How are you doing? Hey, is everybody on board? Not much people on board. Doesn't matter. It's just me talking to myself. Yeah, there's a time difference going on. So now it's almost 4 a.m. But I want to do a live. I feel like doing a live because Hong Kong has like been in a big chaos and it's you just have no mood to walk around talking about stuff like that because you see it day and night, from from the news. And when you see the news every night, every day in the morning, you just feel something's just like over your head, and it's kind of depressing. And I just want to share my feelings and talk about the future of the kids, in Hong Kong. See how the kids are doing. Hey, Louis the plumber, how are you doing? Nice to see you, buddy. So you guys in North America, I think the time is good now, and it's currently we are Friday morning, almost 4 a.m. And thank you for the likes, guys. Appreciate it. Like my kitchen behind. Here's my kitchen. No cooking today, not in the morning, anyways. Just gonna microwave something, maybe. Yeah, and the protest has really affected the economy in Hong Kong. Believe it or not, um, let me tell you a few things that really is bothering me because Hong Kong is the main source of prosperity in Hong Kong is the economy, business, financial, banking. And the first thing that got hit after, like, not even after protests, because there are constant protesting every single day by the students. They are not going to school, and even high school kids are not going. Like I've seen some 14, 15 kids. They want to voice out, about their situation and what they want, and it's sad to see them miss school in a way because education is very important. And and let me talk about the economy first, and then later on I'll talk about the students. And the title of this stream is the future of the kids in Hong Kong. I'll talk about that after this. And now I'm just going to say, talking about the banks. uh, so the hardest hit bank was the banks in Hong Kong is Bank of China. And Bank of China was the number one hit, and the second one is the Construction Bank of China. And how do they hit? Like, how do you protest against the bank? Can you guys tell me? Have any ideas? Uh, the protest against the bank is getting on tele. What's that? The app. The kids don't use the WhatsApp now. They use a Telegram. So they use the Telegram and says, "Hey, everybody, we're in protest. So we'll go to Bank of China and withdraw, close all your accounts." Believe it or not, lots of people have closed accounts from Bank of China, and like the kids, they don't really do much damage. It's from the outsider, the foreign people putting money in the bank, getting savings. Those people are also withdrawing their money and moving the cash to Singapore, because what people do in finance and not banking, they want a stable economy with a stable government. Make sense? So many bankers, many clients, the international clients, have moved the money to Singapore. And the hardest hit is a Bank of China, and you're talking billions of dollars. And Singapore's been benefiting. I think they're pretty happy. And even businesses from Hong Kong are moving to Singapore. And some new there in Hong Kong, there are every day there are new startups, and even startups decide Hong Kong is a really free economy, one of the easiest places to open a company and start your business. But unfortunately, the current situation now is everybody is we hear every day in this on the news is people going to Singapore. So the banks, how and those people they say, oh yeah, Bank of China, they haven't been affected, but believe me, they have been. You know why? Um, we know that that those banks are affected is because the interest rates for the fixed deposits suddenly ranks the highest in Hong Kong, like the top five. Suddenly just went up, guys. And when the fixed deposits really go up to attract people to put money in the bank, that's why you would see suddenly. I think Bank of China hit number one, and it's pretty obvious that the money, the billions of dollars that left Hong Kong. And another thing is the government land at the old airport. The old airport used to be in the middle of the city, and it's really scary because you literally see planes flying over your head, and the runway is all reclaimed land. So now it's like 25 years over, since 1997, and the government has been developing the runway to residential plots of land. And just a week ago, 2 weeks ago, there was like a 100 million, yeah, 100 million plot of land. Is a really big piece of land, and you can build like 40, 50 stories high, and they forfeit their deposit on it. And that was like at least a $20 million deposit that they prefer to just drop, just to, okay, fine, we're going to lose the deposit because we have no confidence in the economy of Hong Kong. And that really took a hard hit for everybody. And when I saw the news, I mean, wow, people would lose. I think that the deposit was like 200, over 200 million or something like that, Hong Kong. It was crazy. And you would hear real estate. Real estate prices are also plunging, at least like 5%, some 10%. And one actor, famous actor, he sold his mansion. I think he lost like 30% of his mansion right after the protest. And when this kind of situation happens, when it suddenly drops so much, people do panic because they're making loans of the bank, paying off the mortgage, right? So he would rather lose, like, I think he lost almost a third of the price value before the protest. But he was scared because the bank and the value on it, he didn't want it to drop anymore, and he actually got rid of it for like a third less of a price. And that was a shocking news that I heard. And 2 days ago, and then you heard another private apartment or big duplex or something. The guy forfeited on the deposit too. He didn't want to buy it, and I think he lost uh, 10 million Hong Kong dollars. He'll forfeit the $10 million. I mean, I wish he bought a house from me and forfeit the money, right? I'll keep that cash. It's a good income, tax free, right? But unfortunately, when that happened too, the economy has gone down. Now the stock market is like 28,000 points or something like that. Hasn't been good. It, it was like almost 30,000 points, but now it's 28,000. And when you hear some news or anything, it'll plunge. And it's I never invest in the stock market because it's really dangerous. Uh, it's just like worse than gambling for me. I have no luck in dealing with the stock market. So all these factors, it's just no confidence for the investors in Hong Kong. And the worst thing is the Legislative Council, after the big protest on Wednesday, where the government, the police used brute force on the protesters. That was the day, counting from now, it's like 2 weeks time, and there wasn't any meetings from the government. There wasn't any, like, the whole government like froze up. You don't hear even the SAR government, the chief executive, since Wednesday, or since the second biggest protest, you don't see her anymore on TV telling what's the situation or anything. Just kind of like disappeared. And there's no meetings at the legislature council, and that is really scary. And people are thinking, "Hey, WTF, man? What's happening to the government?" Is people are guessing, and when people guess like that, you won't have too much of a confidence about the government. And so when you think the government, you don't know what they're thinking, and they're not showing up and talking about the situation or trying to negotiate to make a peaceful society in Hong Kong, it's becoming very dangerous. And this type of situation in the history of Hong Kong, it hasn't happened before, because of the instability of Hong Kong now, and it's just been bothering me. You see Hong Kong people, we really work so hard, and it's just, and suddenly just, what they come out with something, and this couple weeks, 2.5 weeks, look what happened. I have a question from Biz 55 1. Do you think the CCP would last until 2047? Who knows? God knows, they're very, I'm not, I'm not trying to be biased of whatever side, but the CCP people, still there's a lot of pro-Beijing people supporting the CCP, because there are like 13 billion people in China, and if you don't have a strong, tough government, how can they control everybody? I mean, not control, or have everything in order, have a good economy and all that. So that's why, this question, I think the CCP is here to be, it's here to stay for. That's what I think, anyways. I can't be political about it or anything, but they are doing. I do business in China. I mean, if China wasn't, I mean, seriously, during the 1980s, when you go to Shenzhen, there's absolutely nothing here. I mean, if you want to drive here, you better drive a SUV, because there's all dirt roads, all underdeveloped. And that was a really, I mean, you don't feel safe, you don't feel comfortable. It's all dust, dirt roads, and all that. It's really Shenzhen in the 80s, They just opened for like a few years, to the open world. Deng Xiaoping decided to make Shenzhen a special administration zone, a business economic zone, in the 80s, early 80s. And I came here, with my parents, because they're doing business. And that was the time a lot of factories from Taiwan actually closed and moved all the factories to China, slowly develop all the factory. That was the factory boom time. And you won't believe how much development Shenzhen, the whole China, is going on. And it's mind-boggling, because when you go in the city and everything's brand new, even now you see everything building. The subway, they're building like a spider web, and the bullet train. Have you guys seen my video on the bullet train? Yeah, but I don't take the bullet train anymore to Shenzhen. Look at my video, check it out, and it's getting me mad, that thing. But it's really fast. Takes 13 minutes from the city of Hong Kong in the middle to the heart of Shenzhen city. So it's amazing. Okay, so I hope I answered your question on the CCP. Okay, let's keep on going. If you guys want to voice out, I mean, I love doing lives, but I just trying to get myself in the mood to do it because it's just sometimes frustrating. And it's the first time I'm doing one at like 4 in the morning, and it's okay. I'm enjoying this, and I like to talk to my subscribers, and most of you guys are probably working too, you know. And I've been really busy too. It's almost the summer holidays, kids are out, and it's going to be really busy for me too. Yep. Okay, let's get back to the subject. Yeah, so there's not much confidence, and um, and I think the CCP, Hong Kong government, students, Hong Kong people, nobody's really happy about this whole situation. Nobody around this whole China, Hong Kong, everywhere. And believe it or not, 2 days ago there was a massive protest in Taiwan uh, about the same thing. You know, I think 1 million people came out in Taiwan. Yeah, and this has been a really international matter, and like the G20, it's going to be held in Japan, and all the 20 world leaders are going to be there to have a big meeting, and Hong Kong people, they raised a lot of money to make front pages internationally, to voice out their needs, you know, what they want from the protests to all the different languages, which was pretty interesting. I've never seen that before, and hopefully we would see, like tomorrow we'll see something happen, you know, at the G20. Even President Trump's going to be there, you know, Xi Jinping's going to be there, Justin Trudeau, Canadian Prime Minister, and it's going to be, you know, oh, July 1st. July, yeah, I'm answering a question here. Thank you for the answer about your views. Will you be out protesting tomorrow also? Ooh, it's difficult for, I mean, I try to voice out my views too. And I actually made a video before, and the students didn't mind me doing the videos because I just want to be balanced, fair. And even now, when you go to the front row and trying to film them, they're really agitated because they don't want to be on camera. So if you show them on camera or anything like that, they'll like give evidence. So the police would maybe couple of years later arrest them for protesting or doing something violent or whatever. So I just did one live, not live. I did a video on the protesting just before this video. So you guys, you want to check it out. Okay, so for my point, I'm just worried about, you know, the economy. So even now, the funny thing is the pro Beijing people, politicians in Hong Kong, are voicing out. They are saying, because the government has admitted their fault for mishandling this whole extradition case. So so you know, naturally in politics it's a blame game, right? Isn't it? Right? What do I do? We do some service industry and factories in China. We often go to China because it's China actually has given a lot of Hong Kong people many opportunities to do business in China, and actually, for in a business sense, they give the Hong Kong people special return permits, so you can work there anytime you like. You can go in and out. There's no limit, and there's many privileges that the CCP give the Hong Kong people to do business. And of course, there are many successful Hong Kongers and some unsuccessful Hong Kongers. But at least there's, you know, they do. I'm not sucking up to them or anything, but it's just a fact. It's just a fact, and it's a lot of Hong Kong people are benefiting. Even now, they built a bridge, the Hong Kong Macau bridge, and hopefully, logistics and everything. The CCP want to bring everything closer, but I hope still Hong Kong would remain autonomous, and and Hong Kong people got to have the culture, because every culture is different, right, you guys? So Hong Kong have their culture. They do their own things. They eat their own stuff because Hong Kong used to be a British colony. So they kind of brought up differently, So hope I have answered some questions. Yes, I do business, in China. Yeah, the government's been really, and then all the factory, you order all these expensive machinery and everything, and all of them are tax free. They come in. And okay, let's talk about factories regarding of Hong Kong economy too in China, because a lot of factories actually from the Guangdong province near Hong Kong are lots of them are from Hong Kong people too, and some Hong Kong people trying to go to Vietnam. But one of my friends had a factory in Vietnam, so there was a 2 years ago, 3 years ago or something. There was a I think 2 years ago there was a fight between the China and Vietnam border, like this land is mine, fighting something like that. And the Vietnam people got really angry at the Chinese. So what happened was overnight, his factory was trashed, and that was it. No more factory, and you become penniless. And think about how much money you invested on that in that factory, and the outcome was just so disastrous. Is so he came back penniless, and that was really sad for him to see that. So there is one of the risks doing business in building factories in Vietnam too. And did you hear the news I heard from Trump too? I think they say the trade war is going to go to Vietnam next. So, it's really uncertain this trade war is really affecting everybody. Even I think the Americans, Canadians, the whole world, they're hyping out in Hong Kong. It's like we stand in the middle of all this fight and we didn't provoke anything, but since a lot of factories are from Hong Kong, it kind of affects the Hong Kong people too, the economy. And as like the protest, trade war, I did one on the trade war before, how it's affecting the economy. So that was already bad. And now all the protest and the government, and it's even gone down. It's just like flushing down the toilet. Hong Kong's economy. I have another question. Why does Chinese and Hong Kong people continue to have kids if they suffer from overpopulation? Hong Kong actually doesn't suffer from overpopulation, uh, and Hong Kongers don't really have much kids. Maybe one or some. Lots of them don't like kids, like because it's so expensive. And in China, you would say it's overpopulated, but the government, the beginning of end of last year, there was a one-child policy because of the overpopulation. But now there's a big problem because there's no young people that taking the older jobs now. So it's really hard to find young people in the job force. There's a lot of old people like 60, 70, 80 years old still working, even in Hong Kong now and in China. And you see, if you guys notice the news in Hong Kong, taxi drivers, they faint and they run into something, a wall, run over people because they're like 75 years old. He's still driving a taxi every day. It's really stressful. Hong Kong is a really hustling, bustling life. Yeah. So I hope I answered your question, Mr. Mike Lee. Okay, so the economy is flushing down the drain. So let's go to the main topic now. The kids' future. Oh dear, the kids. Why there is such a strong protest? Thank you, Mike. Uh, the strong protest of the kids because I feel sorry for the kids. Um, I mean, they're really talented. They're smart. You know, s- highly educated college students. But when they come out to the real society, the pay is not proportional to everything. It's just like a really low pay and everything is really high price. You go out to a restaurant, everything is just outrageous. You go to eat Western food, you want to take your girlfriend out, easily $150. But the thing is, their salaries is only when you fresh college graduate, your salary is only around maybe $1,600 US, for a college grad, and for $1,600 you start off, and you even try to survive by yourself, it's almost impossible. You got to live with your family. So in Hong Kong, it's you usually in a small apartment, like average maybe 500 square foot. You would see a family of six, stay in there with the grandfather, the mother, and the kids, and they would divide in bunk beds and all that, because it's the real estate is the most expensive in the world, believe it or not. And when you look at the prices, I just told you it's going down, but still it's ridiculously high. It's crazy. So put it this way, even if you make a better salary, say 2 grand or something like that, maybe 3 grand, okay, US, it's pretty good. That's average, like almost, average. They would use 70% of their salary for renting an apartment. And it's don't think you're gonna rent a mansion or anything. It's just gonna be a really small apartment, and maybe a kitchen if you're lucky. So that's and the government housing. It's just unfortunate because the government, it's the system. How can I say it? It's a system. If the government builds too many public housings for everybody, okay, we're going to build this for you, build a low cost housing. Okay, so balance it. Then what happened to the private housing, the private properties in the developers? What they gonna make? They're gonna make peanuts, right? So in Hong Kong, is the economy is driven by the real estate. That's number one is the stock. Number two is the real estate, and unlike America, the deficit in Hong Kong, we're not in deficit. In Hong Kong is the the money, they say it's overflowing. They have billions in cash for the government. Billions of cash right now. Cash. That's how rich the government is in Hong Kong, and that's really unfair in a way for young kids. And nowadays, you see the kids on TV and newspapers. You see kids when they get married, young couples, they leave Hong Kong. Lots of people are leaving Hong Kong. Actually, Hong Kongers, they go to their favorite destination is Taiwan, and I think the second one maybe they like to go to Japan, and the third one they would like to go is to Thailand. That is the most popular place, and they would start a life, opening a coffee shop, and then just paying a deposit on the apartment, because it's just like less than if you buy a house, it's just like 70% off, or even you rent something, in Japan or in Taiwan, it's so much cheaper. In Hong Kong, for example, if you want to rent an apartment for like a 600 square foot apartment, it would at least cost you 20 grand. So that would be like $3,000 US just to wear 600 square foot. So it's probably impossible for the kids, to start a family or to have a proper life. So it's sad that you see all these kids are leaving Hong Kong, and that's the reality. And I'm really worried about the kids now. I have kids too. I'm worried. They every few years the kids think differently. But now the trend is, oh, I'm leaving in Hong Kong. Even government officials in Hong Kong, they have overseas passport. I don't know, have you heard of that? So if anything happens to Hong Kong, they still have another nationality. They can just go over and live there, and which is very sad. Okay, let me read some. Do your kids plan on living in Hong Kong in the future, considering the China returning group? If so, why? Okay, let me answer a question here now. I mean, the kids, it's up to them. They can go back to the States and do university, or they more than welcome to stay in Hong Kong. But if you think of the tightening grip, you just have to play the game, I guess, right? In politics, you gotta, as us general citizens, we just have to to respect the local laws. You know, I mean, I don't want to say this, but you guys privacy, right? In China's virtually zero privacy, Well, so what? You're not going to come to China now, so there's no zero privacy. You're not going to do business, huh? So what happens? All the things you establish, well, because they want to. Everything is facial recognition, ID cards, everything. When you walk to the border, there's already 30 cameras on the first row, and then in the back it's just like a football field, just rows of cameras. It's the fact of life. And even my kid, my son, when he's walking in Shenzhen, he walked across the road, and halfway through, the green turned to a red light, and the camera caught him, and they shamed him on the TV, had his face saying he's an offender, and his face was on TV. That's really embarrassing. I don't know, would that work overseas or anything. It won't work in Hong Kong. I tell you that much. It won't work in Hong Kong. But in China, that's the fact, and you just have to deal with it, right, guys? Oh dear, it's so sad. Let me read some questions. Some more. So yeah, I heard. Yeah, Korea. you know, um, yeah, I've seen some girls, they marry to Korean guys, and it's different because Hong Kong girls, they call them what do you call it? People. There's a slang for the Hong Kong girls. In Cantonese, you would say 港女, and you would say 公主病 means we have a princess sickness. You know what that means, guys? That's a really Hong Kong thing, okay? That people don't know in China. Only it's a Hong Kong thing. Girls in Hong Kong are spoiled. Okay, they're spoiled. They won't. They go shopping. The guys do everything. The guys is just everything please them. So in Hong Kong, you expect to buy flowers. You expect to buy fancy stuff for them, and they'll even consider dating with you. That's the stereotype of Hong Kong girls. So if they go to China, no, Korea, it's a different because it's a male dominant family. So the girl in Hong Kong would go to the kitchen and cook for the husband. Da, 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 da. But in Hong Kong, the guys do everything. So it's interesting because you see these guys, they change, they're trying to adapt to the Korean culture. It's so hilarious. Oh yeah, it'll be difficult. It just depends. You guys, where you guys brought up. Where is your home? So in Hong Kong, they're used to what they're doing. They're used to the laws of Hong Kong, which the British set up like 150 years ago, and the law hasn't really been changed that much. And suddenly, you know, hey, hello, Colin. How are you doing, my friend? Good morning. It's 4:20 a.m. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, and what I'm talking about, I even lost. I'm so excited. My friend Colin got on the live stream. Yeah. So that's everywhere. They have a culture. Everywhere you guys wake up, you do your thing, and every place you do your thing. Even when you talk about Philippines, it's so weird. Uh, they wake up in the morning. They wake up at like 6:30. And they would start eating fried chicken and rice. They would eat two couple bowls of rice. That's the culture of Filipino, and that's awesome. But for Hong Kong people, we don't eat. We rather just have some toast or some ham, scrambled eggs or something. Yeah, yeah, Colin, awesome man. Yeah, so I'm just worried about the kids, because they have to adapt and to different cultures. And Hong Kong is such a busy city. You go out every day, it's just nonstop, and you'll be totally exhausted. Let me give you like even transport. I can't even. Um it's just you can't even compare transportation in Hong Kong to North America or anything. In Hong Kong, the subway peak. Let's talk about the peak travel time, like on work, off work time. It's like 2 minutes per train, 2 minutes, and that's crazy. In the afternoon, maybe everybody's working. Maybe okay, that's 5 minutes maximum. In the buses, same thing. 3 minutes maybe for each bus, or 10 minutes off peak. And that is pretty crazy. In LA, when I catch a bus, you got to look at the timetable because usually it's just what, like 30 minutes a bus or something like that. And lots of places the bus doesn't even go there. And you gotta have a car. But in Hong Kong, you don't you don't even need a car. Yep. And kids, talking about the kids, I just feel so sorry for them. And I feel them, because uh, I don't know, but for those guys, the first thing for them, the wish, is a roof over your head. That is the first wish for them. Have a roof over your head, and that's not even achievable, and paying rent if you want to live with, have some privacy with your wife or something like that. 70% of your salary goes to rent, just rent. Think about your daily. Hey, Sonny, how are you? Sonny man is my top patron, and I really appreciate you. And first time I saw you live, thank you. Welcome aboard. And I'm talking about Hong Kong, all this depressing news and all that. And I'm talking about the students, guys. Yes, Mike Lee. It sounds like hell. So the young kids now, how can I say, they are really angry. They just frustrated inside. They are calm, they're educated, but inside there's so much thing built up. You understand what I mean? It's just, I live here. This is my home, and and I want to be successful. I want to do something, make a business or something. Let's talk about even rent. Kids come out. They do open a restaurant or something like that. Okay, for example, the kids, they might have 5 kids, graduated. Okay, we love restaurant. We'll start in the business, and we'll put our heart to work and do good food for everybody. And the rent, for example, like they rent 1,000 square foot for probably $8,000. Okay, and then you're successful. You have customers lining up every day, and then wow, everything is good. Newspapers come to interview you, and the next thing, Michelin man comes along. Oh, we give you a Michelin star for your restaurant. Hey, man, that's awesome, isn't it? Michelin man for Hong Kong, so all the Michelin guide people will come to your restaurant. So after the 4 year lease, Mr. Michelin man, I was paying 8,000. I would pay 30,000 rent. They'll raise it up to 30,000. And what are you going to do about it? Right? So Hong Kong people, the restaurant owners, when they see this Michelin man thing, they'll just say, "No way, just get out of my face. I don't want, I don't want that." So Hong Kong is a society is like that, and plus the rent, even the economy is low, the rent will not go down. Do you guys know why the rent won't go down? Why won't the owner, the landlord, cut the rent down dramatically? Tell me, guys. Hey, Laura, how are you doing? Yeah, the international community is trying to help Hong Kong. Yeah, and I really appreciate it. Yeah. Oh, in UK. Yeah, they raised 3 million Hong Kong dollars, in less than 24 hours, and so they can put headlines in all different countries, especially all the G20 people. Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about the rent. It goes up crazy. So there's so what do? The Michelin man, just push him out. Just get on my face. We don't want Michelin man. So that's hilarious because really they would close down the Michelin man. They'll close down and there won't be any more restaurant and it's gone. And they would wait until the economy kind of goes down and they'll decide sign their lease. And the other thing is, beside of the rent, like if you go into a mall or something like that, The because I did some business in the mall before. It's gangster. Okay, I don't know if you guys have restaurants or something, you know it's gangster. Because when you go into that area, okay, you do your interior decoration and it's going to be approved by the mall. Okay, so you gotta do all this by you gotta get an interior designer, do make it look uniform to the mall. So I had a retail space I rented in IFC Mall, and I had to do CAD drawings, drawings, perspectives, and all, and that is all money, right? Okay, then I'm gonna do my decoration and stuff like that. Okay, air conditioning, you gotta contract the management's uh, air conditioning and heating. Okay, you can't go out and get, so they will charge you probably 40% more. You gotta what, you're not gonna do it, so you gotta do that. Oh, and the fire regulations, all the fire things, the heads and all that sprinklers, you gotta get our certified fire contractors too, so they would approve it. Plus, well, there's business, right? So I don't want you guys disrupting our malls, general malls business. So, okay, guys, you can start work at 8 at nighttime. So usually the contractors you hire, they will start at 8 or 9 o'clock at night and finish like six in the morning. So that is triple pay salary. That is triple pay. So usually the lease would go for 3 years, and then they'll see, is there Mr. Michelin guy walking a corner and put his face on your door. So you you don't want that. So let me read some messages. Did they put up they will end up empty properties? Yeah, and it's okay. I was talking about that. Thanks for reminding me. The properties I was talking, even if he raised the rent so much, and the guy obviously would go because he'll go bankrupt, right? Because he has so much things he has to pay. So if he had this plot of the shop front or whatever he owned, he has to keep that high price, even though if it's empty. He would just budge maybe 10% max out. He won't go really like half or whatever just to get it out. Because the real secret behind that, if he rents out that for a really cheaper price, the bank would devaluate his property. So the bank has the right to call his loan, because before it was like worth that much. Now it's worth half as much because the rent is so low now. So there's a risk for the bank. The bank won't take any risk. So of course, right? The banks are not what do you call it? They don't do charity. You don't pay up, they'll shut you off. Okay, that's the banks. Any bankers out there? That's the truth, and that's a fact. So when that happens, you'll see the prices still remain really, really strong, because if if they rent it out for like half the price, there'll be a dominoes effect, and the bank will take over, and it'll be chaos. It will be a danger to the economy. And now you go to Causeway Bay, is it's one of the number one shopping place for locals and tourists. You see the big poster signs for rent or whatever by owners, or all these. You see them empty for 6 months. They rather have it empty and just paying off the loan from the bank than renting out cheap. So that's how it works in Hong Kong. I don't know, in other countries would they do that? So that is a really, really sad thing. And this economy now is just nobody's benefiting. Even let's talk about Hong Kong. Hong Kong, everybody's, oh, Hong Kong has a different culture, blah blah blah. Excuse me. Cheers, everybody. The Hong Kong actually depends on the Chinese economy, because China, the government, they bring they bring investors to Hong Kong. They bring tourists over to Hong Kong. The culture might be different. The culture Hong Kongers might not accept, but in reality, they spend money in Hong Kong. So if somebody comes to you, your doorstep, you might not like him, or you're not used to his color or whatever, but he's giving you cash. So what would you guys do, right? So they really help. I'm just drinking a little scotch with some ice because it's late. Yeah, that's life. Because this is hi go Jim. Guy would go Jin. How are you? Yeah. So these are the things are in my mind. The economy, and it's really sad. I had a question before from Mike Lee. Is there an epidemic of suicides in Hong Kong? Actually, every other day you would see a newspaper with a green tarp and then just blood on the side because it's really sad. Yes, students are pressured like up to the top. In Hong Kong, how it works is it's a pyramid. It's a called the pyramid education. Have you heard of pyramid education? So there's starts off with all the students, and it gets harder and harder. And how it gets harder is like every day you would have 5 or 6 different subjects of homework every day. You would have test quiz every other day, uh, and the fun part is if you don't do well on those quiz, you get shamed. So what the teacher, they'll just get the paper. I was like, okay, quiz time. Da da da. Who did? Hey, Mr. John Smith, you did really good. You got 98. Oh, well done. You got second highest. Hey Ben, you got. Hey Jennifer, you got the. And then when those guys get, oh, you failed, and they'll shame you in front, mock you in front of the whole class, and I don't think that's acceptable. And they'll shame you, and then the students will just giggle, blah blah blah, and that actually really affects you inside. They and when they can't take that pressure, it's just so bad. And when they've and the matter of fact, it's life. Nobody gets 100%. Everybody. You think everybody's gonna get a pass? Come on, someone's gonna flunk, right? So they can't help it. So what they do is like in the government school, government subsidized schools in Hong Kong, in the government system, okay, they would, if you're 13 years old and you going on middle school, they would they won't let you advance. So you'll be, for example, you'll be in grade 8, and next year you'll be in grade 8. And if you flunk again, they'll leave you in grade 8. So you can end up like 3 years in grade 8. Think about meeting new friends every year, completely new friends, because the whole grade, it went up, and then those people down there will shame you, and that's horrible. Um, and kids up to I think 12, 13, 12 years old, 13-year-old, 14-year-old, and up 16, college students, they jump. They just go up in the school uniform after, because their parents gave them so much pressure. Because if they don't even do well, the parents would get crap too. They would ask the parents to go to school and talk to the headmaster, class master, whatever, and shame them too. Say, what's happening to your kid, blah blah blah. And the parents would get really worked up, and because they have to take a day off to work just to see the teacher, and they would be just all pressure, not inside the school, even with the parents in the family. So how much can he take, the girl or the guy? That's really sad. So that are these are the things that the young kids, the future kids of Hong Kong are really, pressured. So these are the points that I'm just really upset about. And I, like 70% of your salary goes to rent. Don't even think about a mortgage. Don't even think about buying a house. Forget that. It's crazy. So let me read a question. But should the child be moved, or if they can handle understand Ontario? Oh yeah. If, for example, okay, let's say my daughter, not say my daughter experienced it. Okay, this is a good question. If your kid doesn't, make it or blah blah, what can you do? Okay, what can they do? Go to the private tutoring. So what happens to my daughter? She would go to school like 8 o'clock. The bell would ring. And by the way, when she was in school, public school, she couldn't speak Chinese, sing the Chinese school song. She could only speak English. And the teacher would every single day tell her to stand outside the door when they sing the school song in Chinese because she couldn't speak speak Chinese. And I asked the teacher, why do you do this kind of crap? Hey, that's our school policy. Take it or leave it. So that's crazy. And so when she doesn't do well, blah blah blah, the school recommends you to take this tutoring class. So 8, she'll finish like 3 o'clock. Some lady would come and pick up these kids to this studying house or whatever, this office. So it's with the tutors. So 3 o'clock, she would start to do homework until 7 o'clock. So 3 to 7, she would finish her homework. That's how much time. And sometimes even that time she cannot finish. She has to go home and still mom or me would have to help her finish the thing, or she'll get in really deep trouble. And she told me if she didn't finish certain homework in time, she wasn't allowed to drink water and she wasn't allowed to take a break, or not even take a break, have a snack after school. So this is normal in Hong Kong, okay? This is normal and it's scary. And another thing is, how many days do you guess this kind of tutoring goes for? Have a guess, guys. How many days? Only it only goes for 5 days. And if there's an exam or major exam coming, it'll be for 7 days. Isn't that crazy? And the school tells you, they recommend you do this. No life. There's absolutely no life. Every day is studying. You do sports, everything, forget it. Kowloon expensive? Yeah, Kowloon expensive. Oh yeah, Kowloon property is just expensive. But so let's go for the prices of housing. So number one, expensive. Oh, my light's going off. Battery's dying. Hope you guys can still see me, okay? Um, Let me move my light a bit closer. Okay. Yeah, okay, you can still see me. Okay, so the most expensive is in Hong Kong Island because that's all the banking, the CBD area, and the lesser expensive is the Kowloon City, and that's number two expensive, and number three is the New Territories, and number four, the least expensive, is on the Lantau Island. That's where the new airport is, and that you got to take a ferry to Central or Kowloon, and it's really really inconvenient, and there's plenty of mosquitoes that'll bite you. So, anyways, I hope this has been useful information about the Hong Kong economy, Hong Kong kids, crazy housing prices, the crazy pyramid education in Hong Kong. And I just wanted to get this out of my mind and to share this kind of situation in Hong Kong. And and it's not it's I hope it can improve. I hope everybody's in Hong Kong, including me, will get better. And I know the kids are better because they're gonna start that today. Friday's their last day of school, so they're gonna be crazy. I have to spend a lot more time taking care of them, and plus, um, they are happy now because they are in international school, and it's a completely different world if you go to international school, and it's a lot of money, and the pressure is on me. But it's the pressure on me to buy their happiness. That's how it works in Hong Kong. So thank you very much, you guys, for watching, and I really appreciate it. And I'm gonna get some sleep because it's almost 5 o'clock in the morning. And all my friends leaving comments, thank you very much. And if you guys missed my live stream, do come back and watch a rerun. I'm going to leave it there and rerun. And if you want to see the protest, the situation, look at the video before that, and why I don't take trains anymore to Shenzhen. I did a video on that too. So enjoy, like, love everybody, love Hong Kong, please, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye. Good morning. Bye bye.